Hello there, good morning, and welcome to this week's edition of Safety and Security Watch, reaching you from NTAU. My name is Okun Ndem, and a reminder that you're watching this program via Star Times Channel 103, as well as our social media platforms on Facebook and YouTube. Now, a look around our environment shows the presence of harmattan, which we understand is a combination of several factors, including the elemental forces and the wind, making a downward trend to this end of the country from the northeast. And of course, this happens to be one of those conditions that drivers may find difficult, that is very difficult in the course of driving. And of course, today, alongside other things, we'll be taking a look at driving under special conditions. Please be a part of the program much later in the second half as we are opportune to ask your questions and then make inquiries via our phone line that will be displayed on your screen. To do that today for us, the professional perspective, we have in the studio Paul James, the Public Enlightenment Officer, Federal Road Safety Corps, Akwa Ibom State. Paul, as always, welcome to the program. Good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you. And a very big thanks to our viewers for having us today.
Okay. Driving under special conditions. When we talk about driving under special conditions, what exactly do we mean? First, and perhaps maybe pay attention to the harmattan as it is at the moment.
When we talk about driving under special conditions, we're invariably talking about driving in an unusual situation or emergency situation. There are such situations that are not common as to our environment and our weather with respect to a driver plying any route at a certain given period of time. So you're talking about driving under special conditions. There are things that are required of a driver. As a driver, you are expected to be extra careful. You need extra care. You need discipline. You need concentration, much more concentration that you should have used usually, and you also need consideration because it's an opportunity that you have to accommodate other things unlike what it usually should have been. So these are things that are expected of a driver when you find yourself in a certain condition that is not usual.
Okay, so what are these special conditions? If you will like, maybe mention them and then talk a bit on each of these conditions.
When we talk about special conditions, there are quite a lot of them, ranging from the environment and also roads. These are the two, areas we can find in such conditions that we could tag as special. Talking about special conditions, you look at one driving within this period, starting from this period where we're experiencing this harmattan. So driving within this period, where we have the harmattan haze, the weather seems to be foggy, so it's a special condition. Also driving at night time when the night falls, is also a special condition. It's not like when you drive within the daylight. Also driving during the early hours of the day and late evening, during the sunrise and sunsets, you also kind of experience a glare from the sunlight. It also affects your driving proficiency. So that in a way is a special condition. Talk about driving in the rainy season too, or when it is raining. It requires extra care, and all of that is a special condition. And then you go to the nature of the road. Driving within a road that is undulated, uneven road, so it requires extra care. It's a special condition. And when the road is also steepy, if you have that steepy gradient on a road
Yes.
is also a special condition. And then talk about driving on a very curvy road, so when there is that bend on the road, and then other conditions too, on nature of the road. So these are conditions that will require extra care, and to them we say it is driving under special conditions. Even not forgetting driving in a convoy is also a special condition, because there is extra care that is required of a driver to drive in a convoy. And then that of driving within a high density area, built up area where the road is very busy, you have the interplay of pedestrians, animals, and then motorcycle and tricycles and all of that. So it's also a special condition. So all of these, we'll be able to look at few of them as much as we can.
Okay, let's because of the season that we found ourselves, which is quite necessary that we go to play into it and how it affects, having in mind that in Safety and Security Watch, we believe that security and safety are actually proactive and not reactive. Now, let's talk about the special condition of the present weather, which happens to be
The
Harmattan.
Yes.
What are those things you look out for when you're driving in a weather like this? And then how should a driver guide himself to avoid any kind of mishap?
Let's take it from the beginning, like when a driver wakes up in the morning. Like you talk about the weather condition presently, which is
Okay.
the Harmattan period,
Okay.
and we know one of the characteristics of this Harmattan is a cold weather.
Yes.
So, and this cold weather in a way affects anybody, at the morning hours.
Okay.
You will feel cold, and that's, you won't be as much active as you should be.
Okay.
And it's not opportunity for a driver to resort to taking alcohol, to think it will warm you up. Instead of that, first and foremost, considering your health, that okay, you need to be alert at first, but you could take a bath of warm water that early hour of the day.
Okay.
That will keep you warm. If you also would wish, you may wish to take something hot, call it a hot meal or tea or any beverage at all, other than any beverage that has that content of alcohol in it, because that on its own is not good enough. It won't be good enough. It will affect the driver adversely instead. So that is first thing that a driver may need to do in the morning. And then when you set out for your trip or your journey, what we are saying is that definitely the Harmattan haze, it will reduce visibility. There will be poor visibility, as it were. And in that case, the precautionary measure that is expected of any driver or any user of the road that morning hours, especially that early morning, between that people that want to meet up, catch up with their appointments, call it 5-6 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
that period. So definitely you will experience that foggy weather, and you may wish to slow your speed.
Okay.
In fact, it's very, very necessary
Yes.
that you slow your speed.
Yeah.
You have to slow your speed.
Yeah.
That's first thing. And then it's also advisable that you lower your beam.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, please. Yes, that's critical now.
Mm.
We are advised to also bring down our beam or lower our beams when we're driving in the night. So why do you need to do this in the morning hours, especially in this kind of weather that we're talking about?
Yes. In as much as you as a driver, because the visibility is not clear enough for you, that you need a light. Okay, but you also need to consider that there are other road users
Okay.
that you need to accommodate.
Okay.
And as much as you are conscious of your safety, you also consider the safety of the other road users.
Okay.
So that extent, so you need to lower your beam such that you don't create hazardous situation to the oncoming vehicle driver.
Okay.
So the driver that is coming, if you don't lower your beam, you may likely create a glare, by virtue of your light. So, and that also on its own will also create another dangerous situation for the other road user. So that's the reason we advise that you lower your beam, so that it will also give you, a clearer view of the road, surface which you need to ply, and then you also save the other road user, the oncoming vehicle, from that danger of your life. But supposing you are the one coming and then you have a vehicle or coming in opposite direction, we also advise you that you avoid looking straight into the light of the oncoming vehicle,
Okay.
such that it doesn't affect your eyes as well. And then if you avoid that, then you to a large extent you will be able to avoid having the direct contact with the glare of that oncoming vehicle lights.
Okay, now we'll take a break right now. And when we return, the program will continue. Our phone lines will be open, like I said at the beginning of the program, so that you can come to the program wherever you are. You can be part of the program here on the studio, make your contributions, ask questions that are relevant, because safety is everybody's business. And you're still on to Safety and Security Watch, reaching you live on NTA, your dependable station. Of course, our focus today is on driving under special conditions. Special conditions, according to the Public Enlightenment Officer of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Akwa Ibom State Command, it includes driving in the night, a time like this, which is during Hamatan. The weather is quite hazy, and of course driving in the evening hours, perhaps rain. Yes, you may wish to talk about rain, because after now, since we are in the savannah region of this country, definitely we're going to have rain. So let's make a projection. How do you drive during the rain?
Talking about the rain season too, it's a period that drivers need to apply extra care, be very much considerate, and also be restrained to a level of discipline. The rainy season is a period that visibility will also be impaired. Visibility definitely will be poor when it is raining, and then if you find yourself on the road, then the rain meets you or catches up with you on the road. It's expected that first thing first is that you reduce your speed, like I had said earlier, because you need to come to a very slow speed, such that you will be able to attend or respond to any emergency that may arise.
Have absolute control of whatever situation you find yourself.
To be in control of that vehicle.
Okay.
And then, having reduced your speed, it's expected also that you put on your lights. Your lighting system, especially your headlamps, need to be switched on, because you may need that light to be able to see very clearly, and not just only you seeing. It's important that while you are seeing, you also make yourself visible to other road users to be seen. So with that, your lights, other vehicles coming behind you or drivers coming behind you will be able to know that yes, your vehicle is also there on the way. And then we advise that, supposing the rain gets heavier, if it becomes that much, you do well to pull off the road, because continuing that journey may not be safe enough because of the nature of the road, and definitely, it will be very much difficult if it has to do with even a storm, to the extent that it becomes, with windy and all of that. It will also have a way of, affecting your control of the vehicle. So that is on that. And then you must ensure that your wiper is much functional to be able to clear your windshield, and supposing you have AC, or you can also on a heater to assist in clearing your windshield. So, but don't resort to improvisation where you have to use other materials to stretch your hand to your windshield to clean the windshield of that mix.
We actually see that most times on the
drivers do
yes,
this.
you have a driver having to control the steering with one hand, and then using the other one
to stretch out.
As a wiper, actually. And,
it's very funny, and at the same time, it's a very dangerous situation. So we should try as much as we can to avoid that. It's not good enough. And then you also need to be careful about the road condition. And you remember that when it's raining, the road surface becomes slippery.
Yes.
So when you have that wet, road surface, it makes it very difficult for your vehicle tire to have that adequate traction with the surface of the road. So in that condition too, it requires extra care. So you need to, as much as I have mentioned before, reduce your speed, because that's one thing that will help. And then if the surface of the road also gets flooded, you also need to consider that. One thing I've always told people is that when it is raining, don't give occasion to getting yourself in a fix where you begin to find it difficult to navigate and consider what to do at that material time. So pull off the
sorry
road.
Please, what exactly do you mean by that? Is it a question of not driving too close to the vehicle in front, or not driving too close to the side where you may not even know that, assuming the road is unfamiliar, like you said, you could have a very big gutter by the side?
Yes, the two conditions apply here. When it is raining, it's expected that you increase your following distance.
Okay.
Yes, your following distance.
Okay, please put that in a
okay, let me
in a way,
yes,
that all of us can actually understand.
When we say increasing your following distance, we are saying that you should give enough allowance between your vehicle and that of the vehicle ahead of you. Okay. So that's the following distance. So most times we'll talk about people using, that's what we call 2 seconds rule. To determine what the distance.
How does that work?
So how you do that is that you need to use an object on that roadside to determine when the vehicle ahead of you is by that object, and then you now calculate the 2 seconds it will take you to get to that point. That is the allowance that is required of you. Yes, to
and at that point you're able to leave ample allowance.
Yes. Between your vehicle and then some persons will also say, okay, give a room enough such that from your vehicle you should be able to see the tire of the vehicle ahead of you. The rear tire of the vehicle ahead of you. So on that road. So these are the things that will help you to determine that safe following distance. Now, apart from that following distance you give to the vehicle ahead of you, so it's also important that you also maintain the path of other vehicles that have gone ahead of you, such that you will be sure that you are not swerving to the gutter, to the drainage by the road, or perhaps to the pavement on the road, because if you have the flooded road surface, you will not be able to determine the breadth of that road and all of that. So, and most times some persons, before you know it, if you even speed on a wet surface, or supposing a flooded surface, you discover that you may engage in a hydroplaning. That is where the tire of your vehicle will now be running on the surface of the water, other than on the road. You understand, the surface of the road, and that's on its own is very, very dangerous too. So because before you know it, you won't be in control of that vehicle. The vehicle will begin to wave off, and all of that. So it's a very dangerous situation to find yourself in. So these are things we need to do. So, and then what we advise most times is that when you get in such situation, it's much more advisable that you pull off the road. Just wait a little, allow the rain to subside, let the road surface also get dried a bit before you can continue that way. But while you've pulled off the road, be sure that your hazard lights are on, because you need to adequately announce your presence there on the road, so that other vehicles don't run into your own vehicle, and all of that. Don't forget, we are saying this is a period when the visibility will be very poor, it won't be clear enough. So you need to apply these safety precautions for your safety and those of other road users.
Okay, if you're just joining us, then I would have said you have missed so much, but never mind, because from here to the end, in the next couple of minutes, you'll still get to know more that is should help all of us to stay safe on the road. He's been talking about driving under special conditions, and it's quite an elaborate one here. Now, what about if you're driving in an unfamiliar road? That's assuming I'm making my way to one of the local government areas in the state and I'm not really familiar with that terrain. Now, what happens? How do I apply all of this you've talked about or you're talking about at the moment so that I come back safe? How do I apply it there?
Yes, driving in an unfamiliar route is also a situation that requires extra caution. If you find yourself that you're traveling in a journey that you've not been to before, first and foremost is that you must not be on a speed. You won't be speeding. The reason is that you may need to, be guided properly on your direction, and then you also need to be aware that you don't need to speed because you may not be able to know where there are potholes, where there are
Bends,
bumps,
okay.
where you may find bends, on that uneven road, conditions and all of that. So if you are speeding at that, on unfamiliar road, it's more like engaging on a suicide mission. So you wouldn't want to find yourself in that situation. So it's advisable that you go on such common sense speed limits like we always advocate.
Please,
So
what's the range in that kind of situation? The common sense speed limits in an unfamiliar road. What's the range?
okay, that's why we say this common sense. Common sense here, predetermined speed limit
Okay.
is where there are posted speed limits. And then you also know that where you are driving on an express road, maximally and legally in Nigeria, your maximum speed limit for a private vehicle driver is 100 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
That is on an express.
Yes.
But if it is on the highway for private vehicle, the maximum is 90 kilometers per hour.
Yes.
Whereas within the built up area, you go at 50 kilometers per hour. That's
Okay.
that's the prescribed speed
Okay,
limit.
please, what are these built up areas? What are they?
Yeah, when we're talking about built up areas, we're looking at on a high density area.
Okay.
Take for instance driving within Uyo metropolis.
Okay.
Yeah, so driving within Uyo where you find intersections intermittently.
Yes.
So you have junctions, you have school children having to cross road, you have people going
Close
to
to the
markets
market, yes,
and all
that's
of
it.
this public
perhaps
places
the
around,
church or mosque.
church,
Okay.
worship centers
Okay,
and
yeah,
all of
that's
this.
it,
So
that's it.
as an interplay of many other road users on the road, so you need to consider that this is a high built up area. So even animals can as well
Stray
want
into
to
the road,
cross
of
the
course.
road.
Yeah.
So in such situations you need to know that your maximum speed limit at this place is 50 kilometers. That is legally, but we are also advocating federal road safety call, at least for the sake of safety and you being in total control of your vehicle, at least to enable your maneuverability. You need to go at 30 kilometers per hour. That's what we advocate. The reason is that even though there could be anything, it should be such that won't lead to fatality. So that's why we advocate 30 kilometers. But when we talk about common sense speed limit is none of these prescribed speed limits, but that common sense where your mind, your intuition will tell you that at this speed I am going, will I be able to apply automatic brake should there be an animal or a school child
Yeah,
wanting to cross the road? So that speed limit in which your mind will tell you if any of this happens, I will be able to match automatic brake and be in control of that vehicle, or in any of this happens, I will be able to maneuver and not stray into the road pavement or maybe swerve into the bush area and all of this. So that's what the common sense speed limit will guide you to do. So but by law we've mentioned the allowable speed limit in all of this.
Okay, Paul, thank you so very much once again. It was indeed a great time out, and I know that for all those that were part of the program, whether you watched us on air or online, you know that this is very, very key to a very good and safe roads for everybody in Nigeria. And as road safety says always, that its main task is to reduce accidents, in fact, to zero level. Yes, to zero level on our roads in the entire federation. Thank you very much, Paul. It's good to have you, or rather to have had you joined us on the program this time around. Special driving under special conditions is, by what we have here, it's not even exhaustible.
Of course,
yes, there are many
other things we have to talk about.
We'll look at. So we know that maybe in the course of this program, some other time we are going to look at, maybe bring a part 2 of this conversation, so that we really understand all that we're supposed to do when we find ourselves driving under special conditions. Thank you very much for being part of the program.
Thank you so much.
This week, yeah, it's always a great outing discussing with you, and very good things to learn. Yes, my name is Okonde. We've come to the end of this program. From me and everyone at the production end, bye-bye. Remember, safety is everybody's business.